Today's episode is one that comes from a place of deep love, resilience, heartbreak, and extraordinary strength. Today's story is about a woman who continues to grow, pursue, and inspire, including her 2 young boys. This is a story about love, partnership, and what happens when life changes forever. Please join me in welcoming today's guest, Louisa Onatoro.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me here today to share my story.
Yeah, no problem. I feel so honoured to have you here, and I thank you for sharing it so soon after the passing of Bren.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and so look, I want to get to know a little bit more about Bren, and tell me where your stories together began, and how did you meet, and what was he like before the diagnosis?
So we met 24 years ago, babies pretty much. I was 20, he was 19 I think, or 18, nearly 19.
Beautiful.
Met under the Harbour Bridge, taking my sister out for a drive, and he jumped in my car and the rest was history. It was like, I was driving a nice car and he thought, I'm going to come and say hello. And then, started dating. So that was in, 2002. And then we got engaged in 2004 and married in 2006. So we were quite young. Bren was the most loving, gentle, he would just do anything for anyone type of guy. When we first met, he was a chef, so full-time chef at a club. Obviously, we had our children very young. My boys are nearly 18 and 15. So we grew up with them. Like we were, he was the cool dad. He was like daddy daycare days. That was his role was, a lot of dads would go to work, whereas I was lucky enough that he would be home on a Monday. Yeah. That was my work day, and he'd have the children and he'd do more than what I would do with them. He'd take them into the city and they'd be out and about. It was a very hands-on dad, which was awesome. Obviously, being a chef, cooked all the dinners, so that was great.
Good stuff.
But somebody who had so much time for everybody. He made everyone feel important. He was very committed to, obviously, the football club as well later on in life. The last few years he trained a disabled football team, which gave him purpose and passion. Obviously, after his diagnosis, he wasn't working, the second diagnosis, so he had, a bit of extra time on his hands. So he poured that into the community and helping these young children. So we were married, would have been 20 years in April. So we didn't quite make our 20-year wedding anniversary, but we had a life. I think when you have a cancer diagnosis, you really value time and you create a life that, you want to create memories. And that's what we did. Yeah. Especially the last 5 years, we lived life to the max. Yeah. So, and one of Bren's saying was get busy living.
That was one of my questions. I wanted to really talk about that. And do you remember the first time he said that to you?
Oh, it was probably years ago. He's had this saying, get busy living. I don't even know. I think it was probably like 10 years ago when he had his first diagnosis. So obviously, he was young. He was only 32 when he was first diagnosed in 2015, and he thought it was just a big lump in his leg, and he kind of left it and he's like, I'm too busy. So his journey started back then when he then said to people like, you need to make time, don't think it'll be right. And he kind of, that's where his story came about, and we started sharing from there because, a lot of men just seem to think that it's going to be okay, and it's nothing. They're always busy, they're working. So I think pretty much the get busy living was back then, so a good 10 years ago. So I've got it tattooed on me. So many of my son's friends have got it tattooed, and people that, have known him and touched, like his stories touched them, have it tattooed on themselves as well. So it's a bit of a trademark.
That's incredible.
That's his trademark.
Yeah. And that could be a legacy for it to continue for a long time. Yeah. Look, you did mention that you decided to share it publicly and his story. Yeah. So when did that start happening? Because he had, I saw that he had the catering business. Yeah. He also was like a public figure with fashion. Is that right?
He was Sydney Men's Fashion Blogger. Sydney Men's Fashion Blogger was his Instagram. He had a love for clothes and shoes. Yeah. So that started, and then 2015 he was diagnosed with cancer, had 37 sessions of radiation. From then we thought he'd go back to work and everything would be okay.
And that was started from a lump in his leg.
A big lump in his thigh. So they cut out 18 centimetres of mass from his thigh, and we thought 6 weeks we'll be back at work, just continue on with life. From that he got severe neurological nerve damage so couldn't run with the boys, couldn't kick a ball, couldn't do anything. Had the sessions of radiation and then 2 years of just pain, agony, trying to find a solution. This pain stimulator that he did get put in was originally going to be $70,000 stimulator that we would have had to fund. By the grace of, the type of person that he is, we end up getting it funded through Medicare. His doctor arranged that. So that kind of it was great. It gave him his life and purpose back again. He was able to run with the kids. He was able to do things. He didn't live in like severe pain all the time. And then from there we started our catering business in about 2017, the Grazing Co. And we grew that massively over the last few years. And then obviously in May 2021, we got the re-diagnosis that it had come back. So before that, he was just falling over constantly, and we thought, something's wrong with the stimulator in the back of his back. It's causing, something to touch on a nerve. Anyway, lo and behold, it was, they found a tumour around the back of his spine, and then from then there was just more scans, and it just was in the lungs, under the lungs, the kidneys, lots of metastases in the bones, and it just kind of like got worse and worse. Like, every scan was like there was more. So pretty much our world came crashing down in May 2021. It was the 10th of May, my son's birthday, his 10th birthday. We walked into the office and the doctor said, I think the boy should wait outside. And we kind of went, yeah, something's not good. They were onto it straight away, started radiation, started treatment straight away, started chemo. So obviously we had our catering page and we had to literally cancel all our bookings. Like I had to ring people that week and say, I can't do your event on the weekend.
Yeah. Do you think that's kind of the reason why you wanted to I know running a business, how difficult it is, and having something so traumatic happen at that time, it's your livelihood.
It was our income.
It's your income.
Yeah,
it's your
I was
business.
a part-time teacher.
And did you feel obliged to share your story publicly at that moment because you wanted to kind of explain the reasons why you could no longer?
Yeah, probably a little bit of that. But also we had so many people messaging us and contacting us. So for us, I think sharing our story was an easier way to let everybody know what was happening.
Sure.
But also the people that he touched on our journey with. Brendan had a love for food and connection. And that was what his food brought to the table, was connection, love.
Yeah.
So I think from that, we had so much support. So when I went onto our Instagram to say we've had to cancel everything, his cancer's back, obviously people knew our backstory, why we started the catering. He started the catering because he couldn't go back to the kitchen. So that's so a lot of people knew his previous journey. And just from there, we just shared it. And I just think it just became part of our journey.
Yeah.
Part of his journey. And him wanting to raise awareness for sarcoma. Sarcoma is a very rare disease.
Yeah, I've never heard of sarcoma before.
Yeah, so...
And so what exactly is that?
So there's different types of sarcomas. He had the myxoid sarcoma, so it was like part of the fatty tissue, but then metastasized to the bones.
Okay.
So not many... it's not a well-known, like, breast cancer, bowel cancer, all of that. So his oncologist is a sarcoma specialist, so down at Chris O'Brien Lifehouse. So he also wanted to raise awareness for that. He worked with a lot of foundations to voice his, journey as well. So just sharing, he's done a lot of podcasts as well. So this is my first. So
Yeah. Look, that treatment that he undergo, and I noticed that you guys did go overseas for some treatment as well. Was that in Mexico?
Yeah. So we went to Mexico.
How is their treatment different to what is available here in Australia?
They just do a lot of, so he had a lot of high dose vitamin C. They just do a lot of alternate therapies. So I think, look, it's not, a lot of people do get cured from the alternate therapies. He's worked very much hand in hand with his, the chemo and stuff like that. So we went over there for 4 weeks and he was every day in therapy from 7 till 3. We only had Sundays off. I was able to go over with him. I couldn't go to the treatments because it was just so full on. So I kind of got to have a little bit of a vacation while he was having therapies, and then we'd spend the afternoons together over at the resort. But they do a lot of the hyperbaric, the hyperthermia, the coffee enemas, the IVs, the ozone, the PDT therapy. Like there's so much. And then a lot of supplements, which then he continued on, and he was on a lot of those alternate supplements as well.
Yeah, great.
His oncologist was incredible. Like Brendan was very advocated for his body. He knew what how he felt. And, you know, they'd be like, it's time for chemo. He's like, no, not yet.
Okay.
I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
And his doctor was very good. He's like, okay, but when I tell you the time is now, you need to do it.
Yeah.
So he was, you know, I think last year it was always towards the end of the year that he was having chemo. So 2025, 24 and 23. The last 3 chemos he had to stop after 3 rounds because there was complications each time with the different types of chemos.
Sure.
So, you know, they always find a different chemo to use. This last one, you know, everything was going okay, and then he was hospitalised on the 14th of December with severe pain, and then didn't come home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I remember that. I remember that well. Reason being, we obviously have, I didn't know you before all this, right? And we have a link that I didn't know until December.
Yeah.
And my son is friends with your son.
Small world.
And they were riding and we were up in Nelson Bay. And I'd been following you for years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he said, oh, Mum, my friend's here in Nelson Bay. I want to go meet him. And I said, yeah, cool. We'll go and I'll drop you off at the beach the next day. And he said, oh, no, I can't go. He had to go back to Sydney.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, really? I go, what's his name? Which one? Who's here? And he mentioned. And then I saw your story the exact same day.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, his dad's sick. And then I put 2 and 2 together. And then I made the connection then. I'll completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Your story is definitely one that has inspired me to create this show.
Thank you. Yeah.
I promise. And my first 10 guests are the people that have inspired me to be here because I feel like the more stories that are told publicly, it does help. And we talked about it a little bit before off camera about therapy and what that looks like for some people. It looks a little bit uncertain and unsure when people are so honest about what they're going through. Yeah. But what you don't realize is that, you know, what you're doing is a narrative therapy and it also helps you heal.
It does.
And it can help with others who are going through a similar path.
Yeah, yeah. And I think because we did share his journey, like his cancer journey, and I've obviously got a social media platform with my online business, I continue to share, like that's how I express myself with reels and content and words, and it helps heal me, getting it off my chest, but also like so many people have reached out that I don't even know and have said like what you're sharing is inspiring, it's courageous, like, you know, you're an inspiration. You know, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, but the way you're dealing with it and the way you're sharing it, you're helping so many others.
Yeah.
And I've had so many younger widows like reach out and, you know, just to know that they're not alone and that I'm not alone, that, you know, they're going through it as well. And I think you never envision yourself to be a widow at 44.
Of course, yeah.
You know, that's just, so I think sharing it and knowing that there's other women out there who also go, oh, there's more people, because it's, a lot of people don't share their raw story. And that's kind of why I've continued to share it, not only for me, but to help other people. But I also, it's like a bit of a journal, like having it there as well.
Yeah.
You know, sharing the memories or sharing, you know, videos of Brendan and stuff like that. So,
yeah. And I love watching them. I never got to have the honor to meet him. So I love seeing them. Yeah. I love seeing them pop up and never stop, continue to go. And your children will thank you for it when they keep watching it later.
And I think too, like knowing that, I always knew that, you know, we were on borrowed time. Like cancer would eventually take him.
Yeah.
So I think, sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
We took a lot of photos. We took a lot of videos. Like we lived life to the max. And, you know, I used to say to the boys, take the photos. They're the memories.
Yeah.
Like that's what you need. So I'm lucky, like my brother-in-law said to me, I'm so glad that you've got so many photos. Like you've got all this, because my camera was always out. Yes, that's part of what I do for my job as well. Yeah. But like I just always wanted to take those memories.
Yeah.
So it's good to kind of have them and put them together and
Yeah. My husband's the same. He used to say, oh, stop taking photos. And it's funny because now it's like, he sees all these stories that we share and he talks about it and he's like, you know what, I'll
Take the photo.
stand there. I'll take the photo. Boys, come on, let's all sit together.
Yeah.
Always take photos.
And how do you get boys to smile? It's like,
oh no,
it's
my boys don't smile, but it's okay. Have a tissue.
Yeah.
I definitely had these here for you today.
Yeah, thank you.
It's raw. Yeah, look, you know, so you talked about how you've got the tattoos, get busy living. What other ways do you continue to honour Bren's life?
Yeah, so obviously I share a lot on socials, so just sharing and it's great because so many others share, like if they find, Brendan had, his thing was feathers. He would always take pictures of feathers and now everyone's seeing feathers.
Yes.
So they'll tag him in his story. So it's keeping that memory alive and continuing to, you know, share, like talk about him, like as I said, like share photos of him. I'm obviously still involved with the footy club because I'm doing it for him this year, but just continuing just to keep sharing stories, keep sharing photos, just keeping that memory alive, really.
Nice. Tell me about the football club. I saw some beautiful tributes they did for Brendan.
Yeah.
How has the community been affected by what's happened there too?
Yeah, you know what, like it's a loss for me. I've lost my husband, you know, my life partner that I've been with, you know, like he's there every day. The kids love their dad, but seeing how the children have been impacted has been like amazing. Like it's just to know that he had such a special role in their lives. Like, you know, they'll go, they'll wear his name on their bands before they play a game. You know, the kids at footy will find feathers or the sunset, they'll tag him in their videos. So it's just, like he was the calm in the storm. So he was like, obviously being president down at the footy club, he was, you know, he was a people person. He loved all the kids. Like they were like his own and he wanted the best for them all the time. So seeing the impact, like even at the funeral, like they all wore their jerseys, they all walked up to the church together, like knowing that he's had that presence down there has been amazing. And like the footy community have just rallied around. Like I've got the mums from footy, like, what are you doing tonight? You're going to come to the pub or, you know, like making sure that I'm not alone.
Yeah, that support
not just
incredible.
the footy family, like lots of family, like lots of friends as well, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you do just want to be alone.
Yeah.
You don't want to be around people, but other times you do want to be around people. So
you're so lucky you got
I've got so
much
many
support.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
My son attended Bren's funeral. He was outside and it was overflown. I saw the videos and there was a moment where there's that boy connection.
Yeah.
I think I told you about it when I was talking to you before. And Cruz's head was down. Sorry, I don't know if you wanted to mention his name.
Fine, yeah.
But
everyone knows our names.
That's I can edit it out if you don't want me to. But yeah, so his head was down and I remember a moment, Sebastian called me straight away when it finished and he said, Mum, he looked up and he saw all the boys standing. There was like 30 of them in a row and he just had a big smile. Yeah. So that support not only that you have with your friends, but
the boys.
I've always made sure I said to my son, look, when Cruz needs something, just be there for them.
No, they've been very lucky. Both my boys like have had their friends surround them and it's been incredible.
It's beautiful. Yeah. That's so good.
Obviously the older one, it's a bit easy because he can jump in his car and go, whereas the little one, it's a little bit harder. But
there's soon enough they'll both be driving living their lives.
More grey hairs.
Yeah, but at home, you know, that's one thing. You got your mates and everything, but there's always that downtime at home. What kind of things do you help with the boys to navigate their grief when it's just the three of you?
Yeah, boys are hard. Yeah. Boys are really hard. They don't express a lot.
I know.
So that's kind of, that's probably one of my challenges is to get the boys to, you know, realise it's okay to go and speak to somebody because I lost my mum. It'll be 30 years next year. So I know exactly what they're going through.
Wow.
But, you know, we just try. Obviously, I've got photos of Bren all around the house. We've got a candle with his photo. Just continue just to talk about him and just, you know, like, know that he's there. Like he's sent so many signs. Like I'm very into signs and, you know, like the other day, like there was this drink bottle on the table and it'd been there for I don't know how long. And Brendan used to hate my drink bottles. They were always everywhere and he'd be like, these bloody drink bottles. You know, we're all in bed and I heard this bang and I was like, what was that? And Cruz went out to have a look and he's like, the drink bottle fell. Oh, wow. And I was like, that's Dad.
Oh, my God.
You know, so little signs like that. Sometimes the front door, I'll hear the front door open and close, but there's nobody there.
Wow.
And I jump on the cameras because if I'm in bed, I jump on the cameras. I'm like, oh, there's no one there.
Wow.
So just the signs, and I keep saying to boys, that's Dad, that's the signs, you know, sending you like whether it's the feathers or song. Mr. Brightside was his song. And, you know, at the funeral we had him leaving to Mr. Brightside and the hearse was going and we had a saxophone player, and that's just always Bren's song. So Cruz messaged the other day and he's like, oh, Mr. Brightside came on when I was in the shops. So them knowing that those signs are, you know, even though Bren's not here in the physical, he's here with them no matter what. Beautiful. So just, and just continuing to talk and just share. Like obviously they've been once each, and I said to him, you don't have to go to the cemetery to speak to Dad or spend time with Dad. So, but just kind of at the moment navigating and letting them lead the way and just trying to be there to support them because boys are really hard.
I think you're doing an amazing job. Let's talk about your self-care. Like you say, you do share a lot and that helps with that therapy for yourself. But, you know, what other things are you doing that you're, you know, looking after yourself that you didn't have time to do before?
So obviously, you know, prior to him going to hospital in December, I was at the gym, I was doing Pilates, I was doing that, keeping active. Then when he was in hospital and then after the passing, I took, you know, it was probably a good few months off. So I'm back down doing Pilates, obviously not just for the physical, but I think it really helps with the mental, like just going and switching off, making sure that, you know, I'm fueling myself the best way because it's only me. I've got to look after the kids. So just ensuring that I'm doing things for myself. Like self-care isn't selfish. It's necessary.
Absolutely.
So I've been loving going back down to Pilates. Just that's my 45 minutes of just me time. So I am lucky that the boys are a lot older, so I'm not as needed as much. So I do have, you know, a lot of extra time for myself in the afternoons and stuff like that. Obviously, my oldest one is back at work and the little one's at school and footy and stuff like that. But you know, they're not babies. I don't need to be there constantly. Which has kind of helped as well. But then,
I want to discuss a little bit more about how the impact of you being in the public eye during the journey itself.
It's got its good days and its bad days. I think a lot of people have opinions with how, you know, I've dealt with things. You know, obviously coming from a very large family as well, like anyone happens when, you know, when we knew, so Bren was but around the middle of Jan, the 9th and 10th of Jan, we thought we were losing him then. And that's when I called my son back from holidays because everything was going okay. And so obviously we had all the family there and we're a big family. We had like 50, 60 people at the hospital. So obviously sharing our journey on social media was then a way of letting people know that, yes, there was no visitors today or limiting visitors and things like that. But, you know, with anything, you're going to have the good and the bad in the public eye. A lot of people were opinionated on with, you know, how I was dealing or how I'm sharing. But you've got to remember that sometimes those opinions don't matter. So I look for the good in sharing things online. And as I said to you before, like the other day I had like somebody reach out, don't even know this person, but saw me sitting at a cafe and just said it was really nice to see you sitting there like sharing a coffee with a friend and, you know, having a smile and like that I'm inspiring them. So I think I look for the positives in the public eye. And kind of I do let the negativity sometimes get to me and it does irritate me. But then I've got to outweigh like how many negatives to how many positives, you know, so.
That's what I was just about to say, actually. You can outweigh it and I'm sure there's this positive. I saw a horrible comment on one of your pages and I backed you up. I remember writing something like, how dare you get off the page. I actually told it, just unfollow.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it.
And the keyboard warriors are always going to be there.
They
know,
are.
I've been talking to a lot of people who are in the public eye about that. And ultimately they can't be controlled. They're always going to be there. But just know that you have the most amazing support. And like you say, the positives do definitely outweigh the negative.
And I think too, like, you know, Instagram is a snippet of your day.
Oh, 100%.
A snippet of your life.
I know
like
a lot of people think that that's
like,
everything.
You know, out doing something funny or, you know, but that doesn't mean that I'm not grieving or I'm not missing my husband. It's just like you have to, you've got to one step forward, one step in front of the other each day. And I always say to people, you know, how are you today? I'm like, well, I'm out of bed today.
Yeah.
So
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So what other ways has the public helped, to support you through your journey?
Yeah. So we've been very blessed. Obviously, when you went back to going to Mexico, we had, help to get there. Brendan was part of a foundation, Jenny Series Foundation. And that foundation actually started because of Bren. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Jenny had breast cancer and lost her battle, and the family didn't want people to not have access to the medical treatments because they had financial
Restrictions.
Yeah, that's right. So,
Yep.
Maria actually started the foundation because of Bren. So before he got the re-diagnosis in May, we did a big event for them, and he just kept falling over. And our event stylist told her the story, and she said, I want to help.
Yeah.
And that's kind of also why we shared the journey publicly as well. But we were very blessed, to get help to go to Mexico. We had my cousins, 6 cousins, all put on a massive gala night, a night of hope for Brendan, just to get together and help, with the financial burden that, cancer does. He couldn't work,
impact, of course.
being obviously he was the chef, the shopper, the organizer, he did everything for the catering business. I was just the back end and the admin things. And being with his life being so unpredictable, it was just really hard to get back into the kitchen. Also, like the physical pain that he was in as well. So we were very lucky. But just the support, friends, family, the community has been incredible.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And I think it just goes to show what kind of, family network you have, and also the type of person Bren was.
Oh, yeah. He was larger than life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I wish I met him,
Yeah.
honestly.
He'd be the type of person that he didn't have, but he'd find to give.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
gorgeous. You have that strength, that courage. What kind of advice would you give to a widow or someone who's also going through a journey of terminal illness?
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that doesn't have that kind of inherent mindset that you do?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is your family comes first in this. Like, as I said, at the end, I said no more visitors. I cut it down to just immediate family because you don't get that time back.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is don't feel bad for saying no or stopping people. And this is for people that are going through the cancer journey or, and I was speaking to so many people at the hospital, they were like, oh, but how do you do it? How do you say that? I said, it's family only. Like that's the only time my boys are going to get at that last minute with their dad. And I want to make that special. And it was beautiful. Like we had Vance Joy playing. That was one of his favourite. We used to listen to that all the time going on holidays. And it was peaceful, it was calm. And he actually knew that we were all in that room that day. Like he opened his eyes, he scanned and then, So I think the biggest thing that I say to people now is don't feel bad for doing what's right for you and your family. But people lean in on the support as well, especially after, I'm someone that says, I'm okay. But I've learned to say now if people go, how are you? I'm like, I'm having a really bad day. So I think being open and honest with how you're feeling as well really does help. Are
there things that people do that are helpful or unhelpful in a situation of grief?
Yeah. Look, anything is helpful, but it's just how you're feeling on that day. I think I know a lot of people at the beginning were messaging me or calling me and things like that, and I love that, but I just emotionally could not cope with being on the phone and stuff like that. So I think helpful for people who are grieving is sending a meal around or just offering to support in any way possible. Like I had people dropping groceries off. I had people sending food or vouchers and things like that. They're the practical things that every day is a struggle. Like I remember after, losing Bren, obviously we have a lot of people over our houses the following days and I didn't have to worry about anything because my family had it. Yeah. It was the food that was coming. It was, being Italian, our lives revolve around food, and when there's a loss in the family, it's coming together and just being there to support them. So I think that was really helpful, people bringing things. I think one thing that is, I I don't know how to say this in the right way. You don't want a pity party. You don't want a poor you party because we're already struggling. I just want people, like I think at the beginning is you want people to talk about the person that you've just lost and remembering them. I think that was probably the biggest thing is like, you know, I'm so sorry for your loss. You know, like it's meaningful, but I don't know how to word it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Do you think it has something to do with a bit of culture as well?
It is. And you know, that's the first thing someone says to you, and how are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you really want me to tell you how I am? Like, you know, like, but it's just something that we say when someone's lost something. How are you? How are you feeling today? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one. I think a lot of like when I look at a lot of grieving pages, it's one thing that I always say is like, naturally you want to say to someone, how are you? But you know that what their response is going to be. They're not okay.
Definitely.
You know,
Yeah. And what do you wish people understood more about this process?
There's no right and wrong way. I think everyone grieves differently as well.
Yeah,
like I think,
absolutely.
You know,
that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think, there's no right and wrong. Everyone's going to grieve differently.
So, if you could speak to someone who has just lost their partner, what would you want them to know?
Yeah, so there's no right or wrong way to grieve, I think. And, you know, you're not weak for struggling. I think a lot of people try to hide that and hold it in, like let it out, like let people help you on that journey. It doesn't get any easier as the days go on. I think you just learn to manage it and deal with it. I suppose, you know, in society these days, we have to go back to work. We have to get up each day. Like, you know, and I think for me, going to work has been good too because I'm around people.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one good thing, even though some days are a struggle to get out of bed, but acknowledging the days that you don't feel like, you know, getting up out of bed or don't feel like doing something, like it's okay to say no to people as well. Like, you know, at the beginning, a lot of people want to catch up with you and do things, but the physical and the emotional strength that does take, like I remember at the beginning, like people would want to come over and you know, come and have a coffee and stuff like that. And I'd just be so exhausted, like just getting up and doing the daily things at the beginning were exhausting.
Yeah.
Like by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was emotionally tapped out, you know. I didn't go back to work for I only went back like to school this term. So I had a whole term off. And yeah, like it was exhausting. And then when you go back to work, it's another layer of exhausting.
Of course.
And then trying to catch up with people because, you know, you still want to see people and you still want to connect with people, but it's okay to say no and catch up another time. So
yeah, I think awareness of your true emotion is very important because some people can't identify how they're feeling and they want to people please or they want to feel like they're distracting themselves as well from that grief.
Yeah.
So awareness of when you're feeling that emotion is so important. Yeah. And so what does the future look like for Louisa? I know it's hard to, you know, imagine yourself in the next 12 months, but where would you like this to take you, your journey now?
Yeah, I think just still continuing on to share the journey, keeping Brendan's legacy alive. You know, I'd love to do volunteer work down at the Lifehouse. Maybe one day if I win lotto, maybe if Brendan sends me the lotto numbers.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'd love to be volunteer. I think what I want to do is like, so I sat at the hospital for 6 weeks. Yeah. I was there every night.
Talk to me about the support there and tell me about the nurses and the staff there. Is it
Chris O'Brien.
Chris O'Brien clinic.
Yeah, so Chris O'Brien Lifehouse were second to none. Like his nurses were incredible. So he went in on the 14th of December, went in for pain, and Christmas Day had a turn, and basically I stayed at the hospital from Christmas Day, so the 25th of December until he passed on the 6th of Feb. I was there. I think I went home 2 nights in that time and his mum stayed with him. But the most supportive hospital there is. The nurses are just incredible. Like I used to always say to them, like, I don't know how you do it. You do an incredible job. Obviously, Bren ended up having the paralysis, so he was bedridden and had to be changed, showered, all of that. So he lost a lot of his dignity. So I was doing a lot of the helping with that as well because obviously he felt more comfortable with me, his wife, doing it. So they would all laugh and joke. They're like, oh, you could become a nurse. Like, you know how to do it. I could roll him. I could do all the turns. I was bathing him. I was doing all of that. But just the support was incredible. But you also do, I mean, I'm a people person, so I talk to a lot of people. But there was other people there that would just sit by themselves or not, you know, not engage in conversation. So I think one thing I'd love to try and do is be like a support person for a wife who is, you know, going through that cancer journey of, you know, losing their husband and seeing them deteriorate.
Yeah.
Because like the nurses are incredible and the team are incredible, but it's very different to somebody going through it to somebody having that's their job,
that
you
lived
know?
experience. Yeah. And that would be so powerful and helpful for anyone else experiencing
So that's
that.
kind of, I'd love to do some volunteer work, but just to continue to share his legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his story, I think,
So get busy living.
Get busy
Louisa.
living out. Yeah.
I thank you so much for
thank you.
sharing everything. I can only imagine how, you know, how hard it would be to revisit these memories and experiences that you've shared. And I think, you know, our viewers and our listeners will get some really great positive, uplifting inspiration from you through your courage and inspiration and determination. I'll continue to pray for you and your boys and your incredible journey ahead with your ongoing grief. So God bless you and everyone else. And thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you. It's good.